In part 2, we will go over how to program the TimeKeeper Max using the TimeKeeper Programming Console, or TCP. We will also review how to do an initial setup for the TimeKeeper web interface. Let's start with the initial setup for the web interface. We'll start by opening up the IP setup tool. We will need to assign a static IP for the web interface. Your computer will need to be on the same network as the web interface. As you can see, our IP has been set to 172.16.31.37. To get more information on setting a static IP, pages 3 and 4 of the web interface manual will provide more information. Once an IP has been set, you go ahead and close out of the IP setup tool. Now we'll go ahead and open up the TCP, the programming console. I'll go ahead and minimize this. And to start here, we'll enter that static IP that was just entered right here in the field at the bottom. Again, ours was the 172.16.31.37. We'll go ahead and connect. Now we're connected. You'll get the client started message along with the TimeKeeper Max TCP message. To verify that, just hit the all on here. As you can see, our demo unit has been connected. Up on our demo unit, we have our TimeKeeper Max, we have our web interface, we have our Calypso Prime firing card with our WCR relays, we have our dimmer LED board for our lighting loads, we have our Solar Select dimmer board, our 6 channels of dimming, and our line voltage for our dimming. To the left over here, we have a Mystique 8-button station addressed at station number 1. So now we'll review the programming for the TCP. All the programming is done down here in the configuration part of the TCP. We have the station and the input. There's the scene portion. We have our events, our holiday setup, our sequences, and the time and the date. So let's start by reviewing how to program a station. We'll start by selecting the station and the input tab in the configuration portion of the TCP. Again, we have a smart switch that's addressed at station number 1. It's the 8-button smart switch. So we'll go down and we'll select station number 1. There are 96 available options here. So we'll select station address number 1 here. We can tab to the right for the button. There are 8 available button options. We'll just select button number 1. We'll select the target type. This is the relay, dimmer, scene. We'll just select a relay for right now. Then you can select your relay number. We'll just select relay 1. You can tab over. We'll just select a cycle action. And then before you set the switch input, you can go ahead and test it on or test it off. So right now we have no action set for our station number 1. So you can go ahead and test it on and test it off before you set your switch input, just to verify that's the correct setting. Then you can go ahead and set your switch input. Now we have station number 1, button 1 programmed for relay number 1. We'll go ahead and select button number 2. And we'll set it up for a dimmer. We'll just select dimmer number 1 for a dim cycle. We'll just go ahead and set that switch input. Now button 2 is set up for a dim cycle on dimmer number 1. So that's the basics of setting a switch input. Over here to the right, there's a get switch input. This will get the button information, the programmed information. So if we go back here to button number 1, it will pre-fill the information here if there's any programmed information. You just hit the get, it will pre-fill the programmed information. So if we select button number 3, hit get, everything will be set to 0 or none. There's nothing programmed yet. So if we go to button number 2, it'll give us that dimmer information that we just set. There's a station detect and a station detect on. You hit the station detect. This is used for troubleshooting purposes. Hit the station detect and then hit a button press. It'll tell you what station and what button was just pressed. So if you hit the station detect again, button 8 here, it'll give us that information. If I hit station detect and then button 7, you can give us station 1, button 7. We hit the station detect on, it'll just start pushing out the messages one at a time without having to press the station detect every time. So if I just hit station 1, button 4, station 1, button 3. This is just a quick way to get your station and button information. To the right of the configuration here, there's a station report, a station list, and a station clear. We have switch number 1 selected here on a station report. I'm going to go ahead and expand this window a tad. Clear the screen out. But switch number 1 is selected. We want to run a report on that. This is going to give us our station information that was programmed. So we had relay 1 and relay 2. The relay 1 and dimmer 1 programmed on buttons 1 and 2. We want to run a station list. We want to run a list between switches 1 and switches 5. We can run this list. So it's going to report stations 1 through 4, give us all that programmed information. Now at any time you can hit the escape key and it'll abort that list. Now if we want to go to switch number 1 here and we want to clear out that information, we'll just hit the station clear. I'll ask you if you're sure about that. Now station 1 has been cleared out. So we can run the report again and confirm that station number 1 has been cleared. So that's the basics for the station and the input portion of the TCP. Now let's review how to set up a scene. There are several different ways on how to set up a scene using the TCP. You can set a scene output, you can set a scene range, or you can use the scene set tool. Let's first start with setting a scene output. We'll first select our next available scene, select scene number 1, select our target type, we'll choose a relay. We'll choose relay number 1, and we'll set the action for an on. And then we'll set the scene output. In the same scene, we'll choose relay number 2, and we'll also choose the action for an on. So in scene number 1, we have relays 1 and 2 set for an on action. We'll now choose scene number 2, and we'll choose relays 1 and 2, but we'll change the action to an off. And this is how to set a scene using the set scene output option. The second option is to use the set scene range. And when setting a scene range, this is for use when setting up larger scenes, such as an all on or an all off or a goodbye. So we'll select our next available scene, and we'll choose target 1 as relay 1 and target 2 as, let's say, relay number 8. So this will program relays 1 through relay 8 as a, let's do it as an on. So scene 3 will be relay 1 through relay 8, and it'll program it as an on. So we'll set the scene range. It'll ask you if you want to skip any loads in between. We'll say yes. We'll skip number 5. So it'll leave relay number 5 out of the scene. So we'll say yes. So if there's a larger home and they have, let's say, 100 relays and they want an all on and an all off, you can just program 1 as target 1 and target 2 as 100 and set the scene range. So in scene number 4, we'll go ahead and target relays 1 through 8, and we'll set them as an off. And we'll leave out number 5 as well. So this is option 2 on how to set up a scene in the TCP. Last option is to use the scene set tool, and this is mainly for using dimmers to custom set dimmers to certain levels. So this has the slider options. So we'll first off select our next available scene. We'll go to scene number 5. And up here, I'll go ahead and hit the dimmer test, which is going to pre-fill all these fields, dimmers 1 through 10. And I'm going to select a dim 2. And by moving these sliders back and forth, it's going to pre-fill this level in here. And as you can see, dimmer 1 is adjusting with the dimmer rate or the level there. So I'm going to just leave that level at 35%. You can adjust the time as well. So if you want that level to that dimmer to go to 35% in 10 seconds, you can do that. So we'll go to dimmer 2 and we'll adjust that level. Just go down here and just pre-fill all these. And once you're finished with these selections, just go ahead and set a scene output. It's going to ask you if you're sure. Just go ahead and say yes. Now, if your dimmers, if you know your preset levels for the dimmers, let's say they're dim to 100%, or if you know their preset levels are 50%, you can go ahead and use the set scene range tool. It's just as fast, if not quicker, to just go ahead and use the set scene range tool if you're setting up multiple dimmers. So we'll go ahead and go up here and select scene number 6, and we'll just shuttle these dimmers down to 0. Shuttle the levels, shut them all down. And yes. You could program relays in here too. It's just an on or an off, but it's mainly used for a custom setup for the dimmers, for the dim 2 levels for the dimmers. And once this programming takes place, you just go ahead and close out of the scene set tool. So that's the 3 options for setting up scenes in the scene configuration. I'm going to go ahead and expand this window. So what we have down here at the right is there's a get program scene outputs, there's a get scene list, and there's a clear scene. I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen here. You hit the clear screen button, it'll just clear the clear the menu out here. So if we want to get the programmed information for scene number 1, just go ahead and put number 1 in the field, and then get program scene output, and it'll give us all the programmed information for scene number 1. So relay numbers 1 and 2 are set to on in scene number 1. Now, since we have six scenes programmed, I'm going to clear the information here again. So we have scenes 1 through scene number 6, and we'll get that scene list. And it's going to give us all the information, scene 1 through 6. And if at any time you want to abort this menu, you can just simply hit the escape key and it'll abort. So there's all of our scene information that's programmed so far. Scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, the 1 through 8, excluding relay number 5, and then our custom dimmer set. At any time, if you want to clear out a scene, just simply in the field here, just select scene number 1, and if you want to clear it, just hit the clear scene, and it'll clear out all the information programmed in scene number 1. So now let's go ahead and assign a switch input with a scene programmed in that. We'll go ahead and minimize this window. Let's go to our station inputs. So we're on station number 1. Let's go to button number 3. We'll program a scene, one of our scenes. We'll go to scene number 1. And when you program a scene, you can target another scene. So we'll target scene number 2. And we'll set the switch input. You can test the scenes too, just like you can test your relays on and off, so you can test and make sure that's the scene you want to program. So we'll set that switch input. So now on button 3 we have scene 1 and scene 2, which were programmed as the relay 1 and relay 2, on and off. So you can stack scenes on top of each other. On button 4 here, let's go ahead and program scene number 5 and number 6, which were our dimmers. So on button 4, our dimmers over here should come on, and number 1 should be a little slower. It had a dim rate at 10%, or at 10 seconds. So that's how to set a switch input with a scene program. Next, let's review how to set up an event. In order to set up an event, first a scene, an input group, or a sequence will need to be set up. So we'll first start by selecting the next available event in the system. We'll select event number 1. We'll select event number 1 and choose scene number 3, which was our relay 1 through relay 8 on, and then we'll select a time. You can select any time throughout the day, and there's also sunrise and sunset options. So you can select a sunrise plus or minus, so that it would be a sunrise plus. So you select a sunrise plus, do sunrise plus 5 minutes, so this would happen 5 minutes after sunrise, or you can do a sunrise minus, it would happen 5 minutes before sunrise. Now here are the days of the week. You can set it any individual day of the week, Monday through Sunday. There's little check boxes. You just check any day of the week. Or if you want to set every day of the week, just simply hit the All button and just check that box. It'll just check every day of the week. Once your event has been set up, just go ahead and hit the Set Event, and it will go ahead and program event number 1 for the selection there. So we'll set scene number 3 for event number 1. Event number 2, we'll go ahead and program scene number 4 for a sunset. We'll do sunset -5 every day of the week, and we'll go ahead and set that event. Now, if we want to get event information, we can go ahead and go back to event number 1. And if you want to get the programmed information for event number 1, simply hit the Get Event, and it'll pre-fill the event information here. Let's say we're on event number 3, which has not been programmed yet, and you hit the Get Event, everything will come back set at 0 or no action. If you want to clear the event, so you could go here and choose event number 1 and simply hit the Clear Event button, and it'll clear out all the programmed information there for the event. To the right here is the Get Event List. So we could select event number 1 through event number 2. I'm going to expand this window a bit here. And again, I'm going to clear the window. So we have event number 1 through event number 2. And we'll go ahead and get event list, and it's going to print out all of our event information. So there's event number 1 with scene number 3, Monday through Sunday at sunrise -5 minutes. And event number 2 is programmed with scene number 4, Monday through Sunday at sunset -5 minutes. So that's the basic setup for programming an event. Next, let's review how to set up a holiday. In order to set up a holiday, an event will need to be programmed first. So let's start by selecting the next available holiday in the system. We'll just choose holiday number 1. We'll then select the month and the date that we want the holiday to take place. We'll just choose Christmas Eve. We'll then select the event that we want to happen in the holiday. We'll just choose events number 1 and events number 2. Once those selections have been made, we'll just simply set the holiday to program it. There's also a Get Holiday and a Clear Holiday. The Get Holiday will simply get the information for a holiday that has been selected here. So if we go to number 2, we can get that programmed information. As you can see, nothing has been programmed for holiday number 2. If we go back to holiday number 1, which we just programmed, we can get that information. There's holiday number 1 programmed for December 24th with event number 1 and event number 2. If you want to clear out that information there, you can clear holiday number 1. Here to the right is the Get Holiday List. If I expand this window up a bit, I'm going to clear the screen again. We can get a holiday list, just a printout of everything that's in holiday number 1. So we have holiday number 1 with the date set for December 24th with event number 1 and event number 2 programmed in it. So that's how to program a holiday using the TCP. Okay, now let's review how to set up a sequence. In order to set up a sequence, a scene, or an input group, or other programming will need to take place first. We'll first start by selecting the next available sequence. We'll select sequence number 1. We'll then select the element that we want, or the step that we need to take place. We'll just choose element number 1. We'll select a scene. We'll choose scene number 3. And we'll set our time for our offset to 0. We'll go ahead and set that sequence. We'll come back here to our element. We'll set it at element number 2. We'll keep our target type to a scene. And we'll choose our target as scene number 4. And we'll change our time or our offset, and we'll put 3 seconds. So there's going to be 3 seconds in between scene number 3 and scene number 4. We'll go ahead and set the sequence then. I'm going to expand this window a little bit here. There's a get sequence and a clear sequence again. We go ahead and click and get the sequence. It's going to print out our sequence information up here for sequence number 1. There's our target 1 and our which is scene 3. Element 2 here for target 1 is scene number 4 with our 3-second offset. If you there's a clear sequence, so if you have sequence 1 here and you want to clear the information, you can go ahead and clear the programming there. To the right, if you want to get a sequence list, go ahead and so we want sequence 1 through 2. Go ahead and clear this again. You can get a sequence list. So we'll go ahead and get a sequence list for sequence 1 and 2. It's just going to print out our list there. So that takes care of the programming for the sequences. Now let's go back to our station and our inputs here, and we'll go ahead and assign an input for our sequence. So let's keep it at station number 1, and we'll select button number 5. We'll go ahead and target a sequence, the sequence we just set up. Sequence number 1. We'll set the action for an on. We'll set that switch input. So it's going to turn on our scene 3, which was relays 1 through 8, excluding relay number 5 here. And it's going to have a 3-second offset there, so those will turn on and then turn back off. So again, with button number 5 being pressed, it's going to turn that sequence 1 on, and then with a 3-second offset, it's going to turn them back off. And that's how to program a sequence using the TCP. Now let's review how to set the time and the date. Setting the time and the date is very straightforward. Down in the bottom fields, you can simply tab through the day, the month, the date, the year, the hour, the minute, even down to the second. With all the selections made, you can simply set the time and the date. Once the selection has been made, you can get time and the date from the TimeKeeper. It'll pull the current time. It'll update here. You can pull that information again. It'll update in the seconds column there. Again, this is how to set the time and the date using the TCP. Okay, now that we've been through the programming, why don't we go ahead and take a closer look at some of the added benefits that TCP has to offer. Up here at the top, there's a complete report. There's a save screen. There's a clear screen that we've been through. There's a load search. There's a load on search. There's an all on and all off. We have a dip switch calculator. And a few of the integrator tools, including a terminal emulation, display off. So let's start with the complete report. Once the system has been completely programmed, all the stations, the scenes, the events, the holidays have been set up, and the sequences, you can go ahead and run a complete report on the system. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the screen here. And we'll go ahead and run a complete report on the system. It's going to ask you to enter in your parameters, so we'll enter in all of our stations. If you have 50 stations in the system, it'll just be 1 through 50 here. So we just have the one station. And you'll enter in all your scenes, so we just have the 1 through 6. All the events, we'll just go 2 events, all the holidays, and the sequences. So once you have all your parameters set, just go ahead and hit the next button, and it'll give you a printout of all the programming that's taking place. If you need at any time to abort or exit this this report to change a parameter, you can just simply hit the escape key and it'll abort, and you can change a parameter and then run your report again. Once the report is complete, it'll get you a message at the bottom here which will say complete report list completed. When you are finished, you can hit the save screen, and then you can save all this information to a folder on your computer. So we'll go ahead and escape out of that. Again, the clear screen just clears this window here, just all the information out of here. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this window. And there's a load search key here. So the load search is for searching loads throughout the house or your building. So if let's say you're looking for like a kitchen recessed light, so we'll go ahead and hit this. Let's say it's a relay that you're looking for. It's going to ask you if the load is on. Go ahead and say no. You can enter your starting relay number here, if you know around what number it is. So say you have 150 relays, you want to start at relay number 50, you can go ahead and enter that number there and start going from there. So we'll go ahead and cancel that. If I hit the left and right keys here, the left arrow and the right arrow, it's going to key through the relays. And as you can see, it's just given us a printout of what relay number we're on. If you want to go through the dimmers, just simply hit the up and down arrows. As you can see, it's letting us know what dimmer number we're on. And that's just a quick and easy way to track down lighting loads. Is using the load search. The load on search, just hit the load on search, and this is going to give you a printout of what loads, relays or dimmers are on. So right now it'll let us know that dimmer 1 is on. So dimmer 1 is on, relay 8 is on, and then in what scenes that they are on. So that's the load on search. The all on and the all off, it's just going to turn every lighting load on and off through the house. So all the relays, all the dimmers, on and off. There's a dip switch calculator built in here. We can go through and verify dip switches, verify the addresses. So starting address number 1 for relays is going to be DMX address number 73. So we can go through and verify that the dip switches are set correctly. So DMX address number 73 would be dip switches 1, 4, and 7 on. So this is just a quick way to verify dip switches. The system up here is in blocks of 8, so these are in 8 relays, banks of 8. So we would increase the number by 8. So the next address would be DMX address number 81. So it would be dip switches 1, 5, and 7 on would be DMX address number 81, which would be starting relay number 9. So that would be for the relays. If we wanted to check our dimmers, dimmer started. Dimmer number 1 is DMX address number 1, which would just be dip switch number 1 on, and most of our dimmers start in banks of 6, like the demo unit here. It's just gonna these are just two channel modules here, so it's just a 6-channel dimmer module here, dimmer unit here. So we would just increase the dip switch calculator by 6. So the next unit would be DMX address number 7. So dip switches 1, 2, and 3 would be on for DMX address number 7 or dimmer number 7. There's a smart switch calculator to the right. So say we want to pull up smart switch number 10 and verify the address for smart switch number 10. It would need to be dip switch number 2 and number 4 on for dip switch or smart switch address number 10. It would be dip switches 2 and 4. And number 8 is always on for our smart switches. If we want to go to the smart switch options and change the color, the default is normally green. If we want to change that default green color to a blue LED, dip switches 6 and 7 would need to be in the on position. So this is the smart switch options. So this is the dip switch calculator that can be found in the TCP. Just a way to verify all the dip switches for the relays and for the smart switches. There's a terminal emulation display off, so when using terminal emulation in the web interface, this is a way to shut off the terminal emulation from the TCP program. So these are just a few of the diagnostics tools that can be used in TCP. Again, we have the complete report. The load search is one of the main diagnostic tools. The load on search, the all on, the all off, the dip switch calculator, and again in the station and the input portion, the station detect and the station detect on are a couple other of the diagnostic tools that can be used. For integrators, we have the ASCII command field up here where you guys can enter ASCII commands. So again, those are a few of the tools that can be used in the TCP that are pretty beneficial. For information on programming the web interface, be sure to check out part 3 of this video. Or for more product information, be sure to check us out on our website at touchplate.com.